Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Spark series, where we are sitting down with all of the different speakers that we are bringing to Madison, Wisconsin on September 3rd for year 2 of the IGNiTE Digital Leadership Summit. And I'm so excited, Casey, to be sitting down with you, and James, always excited to be across the room.
We always sit together because we live together.
Yeah. I don't get to talk to Casey every single morning the same way I get to talk to you. But to get us started, Casey, while everybody is jumping in, I'm going to first ask them to tell us who you are and where you're joining from to get the chat going, because this is live. That's the whole point. Otherwise, we could just make this a recording. And while people are jumping into the chat to do that, Casey, can you get us started by sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to join two of my heroes in this space for sure, and just lovely human beings, Emma and James. Couple goals for my husband and I. We talk about that all the time. My name is Casey Lynch. I'm the National Managing Partner at Tyson and Mendez. We are a nationwide law firm. We are a trial law firm, and we only do defense work. So we only represent individuals and entities when they're sued civilly. So there's been a ton happening in this space the last couple of years, and I'm about a year and a half into my role as National Managing Partner. In that role, I oversee our firm's attorneys, our staff, our operations nationwide, really trying to focus most on aligning our people with our purpose and the great work that we're doing across the country.
That last piece that you said of aligning your people with the purpose is a lot of what we're going to be talking about together at IGNiTE when you and I get the chance to do our fireside chat with everybody in the room, and a little bit of what we're going to be talking about more today. And one thing that I wanted to just do to kind of get the conversation started is you mentioned that you are a year and a half into the national managing partner role, but can you give everybody a little bit of an insight into what the journey to get there looks like? Because it is like a really great story.
Thank you. It's a crazy journey looking back. So I'm a lawyer, started out, went to law school, graduated law school, and clerked at a state Supreme Court for almost a year. Before that, justice retired. And then just decided I would move to California, because who doesn't want to live in Southern California? Studied and took the bar here, but I knew no one. I did not have contacts in the industry, or even through my, hi Curtis, or even through my alumni association here. So I passed the bar, thank goodness, but didn't have a job. So I was living in this tiny studio apartment. So I would travel around the city of San Diego, finding coffee shops to sit at with my laptop and apply for jobs. And I can remember trying to put together the most perfect cover letter. I mean, this was before, this was 15 years ago, people. We didn't have the algorithms. You actually just wanted a human to open your application. So I can remember trying to just be perfect, trying to put these packages together to try to get a job at a law firm. I knew I wanted to litigate. And one day I found a new coffee shop called Bird Rock Coffee Roasters. Shout out. If you find them,
Bird Rock.
Okay. Bird Rock.
Not Bird Rat. Okay.
Thank you for letting me clarify that. That's very important. Bird Rock Coffee Roasters, and they were just down the street from Tyson and Mendez. And I'm like, oh, what's Tyson and Mendez? And I Googled it, litigation firm. They just won this major California Supreme Court case, and I had been an appellate clerk. So I sent Bob Tyson and Pat Mendez, the founders, an email essentially along the lines of, hey, dude, I really need a job. And just abandoned the standard of perfection that I'd been embracing in the prior months. And they weren't hiring at the time, but Bob gave me an informational interview. I took the interview, and he said, well, I'll let you do some paralegal work for us. Let's see how it goes. And so I just started showing up every day, literally in the office, scraping, asking for paralegal work to do. And when my license came through to start practicing, they made me an associate, and that was almost 14 years ago now. So I really feel like I started in the mailroom, insofar as mailrooms didn't really exist anymore either. But it's been very cool to work different positions in the firm, see our issues from the client's perspective as I've grown my client relationships and learned what's important to them, but then also learning what it's like to deal with those issues on the front line from various positions throughout the organization.
So kind of going back to again, I talked about that seed of like the purpose side of things, starting from where you did to getting to where you are now. How does that influence the way that you think about leading the team and specifically kind of getting everybody around this? And we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that mission and vision looks like for Tyson and Mendez here in a minute. But how do you, or well, maybe start there and then talk through how that flows for you.
I'm very happy to do that. So, we say internally to our own people and to our clients that we want to be the best insurance defense firm in the country. We have not written out our values yet. That is a goal of mine that we do that. But that's kind of our guiding post, our guiding light is to just be the best and do our best work. Then when you look at it from, thank you all so much for joining us. Hi, Chris. When you look at it from the position of being a leader, it's, well, if our mission is to be the best, then what tools do our people need in order to do their best work, right? It's not just how do we produce this great product. It's also how do I then be the best employer where people want to work here and want to challenge themselves and do the best work that they can. And it's been one thing that I think is a challenge for me now is because I have been at this organization my entire career, and because I've seen us through growth from essentially 15, 20 lawyers all the way up to 300 and expansion across the country, I drank the Kool-Aid, people. Like, I believe in what we do to our core, and I'm happy to dive into some of the specific legal stuff, we do. But it's very easy to take that for granted because I have lived and breathed it my whole career, and realizing that we're growing, we're expanding, we're bringing over lateral partners, we're hiring associates and staff, and we're training them. I have to keep repeating this mission over and over and over and over again because somebody might be hearing it and is likely hearing it for the very first time. It's not something that, while it is instilled in my Kool-Aid beverage and I'm drinking it all the time, I have to spread it around and I have to share it very to the point where it feels weird because I'm so often.
Well, I mean, on the Kool-Aid side of things, I'm curious just what you think is like I don't want to say the secret recipe for Kool-Aid because Kool-Aid is just a bunch of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. But like, what do you feel is like the secret of it? Because I think there's so many businesses right now that are growing or just like experiencing change, right? Because everything's happening in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And having the backdrop of that mission and that purpose and that Kool-Aid is just really important to kind of help with actually continuing forward. Do you guys feel like there's those things that you're doing? You just mentioned repeating it again and again as being a big part of that, but are there other things that you guys are doing that helps to instill that within the organization?
Mm-hmm. So one of our biggest challenges, as I'm sure every business faced, is just how do we convert from working in the office all day, every day to being a successful remote organization? And what we're finding, the law is and particularly the private practice of law is this very conservative, very traditional in our approach on FaceTime. Like, you're successful in your job and as a litigator, as a staff member, if you show up and put in the FaceTime with your boss so that you're available when somebody comes out their office and needs help. We firmly believe that if we do not encourage people to work from wherever they are most productive, we are not going to be a competitor when it comes to being an employer that people want to work for and stay at long term. So we've put this productivity first policy in place where we allow everyone in the firm, regardless of your position, to work from wherever you are most productive. And in today's day and age, now we're 6 years plus past COVID, lots of law firms are starting to call people in, and we're realizing we don't want to do that. Like, what's best for our people? And when we do what's best for our people, are we still able to produce the great work product that we were when we were in the office? And we're realizing that we are. So this mission of being the best, I promise there's a purpose in what I'm saying right now. We're allowing everyone to work remotely, yet we're still so firmly grounded in this purpose of doing our very best work for our clients and producing our very best work product. It's a totally separate set of challenges than we were facing 6-7 years ago. And so we had to sit down and ask ourselves, okay, well, if this is the purpose and this is the policy and this is the approach that we're going to take, what's the pathway to making sure that every step we take, every month's worth of work we're doing for people, every motion that's being argued, every trial that we're trying, that we are still doing our best work? And it came down to defining those pillars that have to be lived and breathed in the organization to reach that goal in this unique environment. And one of the biggest ones for us is prioritizing our people and staying connected. So we have a lot of meetings in this firm. We just do. And they're virtual meetings. They're just like this. They're on Zoom. It's not texting. It's not slacking. Like, it's getting face to face in camera with people. And we do it in small groups. We do it as an entire organization every single month. And it's a really, really big deal to keep us connected, making sure people don't feel alone, make sure they know what resources they have. And also, it's another opportunity to reinforce the purpose. So it becomes so many benefits come from it. And I think to answer your question, James, in like 3 or 4 words, it's just prioritizing our people.
Yeah, no. And I've seen that firsthand, and working with you guys too, that you guys do a really good job with that. And another thing I really liked what you said there too, is just, you mentioned like the pathways to get to that goal. Right. And, you seem flexible in those pathways, right? And you seem adaptable to get there, but like the goal is the goal, right? It's not like, I see so many firms that fixate on like the individual things, like to your point, like you have to be in the office, we have to see you kind of thing. It's like, is it that, or are you trying to serve your customers really well? Because like, if that's the goal and the world is changing, like, and you want the best talent, you need to actually adapt to how the world's changing and keeping that goal in mind. So I think that's a really important point. And I've seen that happen many times with businesses that struggle to remember what the main thing is, which is really important.
Yeah. And I think it's just asking, okay, but why? And then getting into, okay, but why again? And then you're really getting down to the purpose and the why behind a policy or a philosophy or an approach that you want to take. And you get to check that against. And when you're down to the core of it, like, okay, well, are you still in alignment with your main purpose here? And if you're not, then that's an opportunity to do something different. And the challenge for all of us today, I know we're going to talk about this more, is just that there isn't a guidebook. Like, there isn't we are all doing this for the first time still in the age, particularly in the age of AI adoption and how we're moving through. Like, I feel like we'll make it through a couple months and we'll address some challenges. Don't worry, there's another one right around the corner, and we're all going to be addressing that new one for the very first time. So you obviously reaching out to people in the industry that you trust. The Catalyst community has been so huge for me personally. Knowing both of you obviously has been huge for me personally, to have those professionals facing very similar challenges that you can gut check against and talk about with these things. I know the IGNiTE event is just going to be a day of that, of talking about what we're all facing and how important it is to have resources, because we're all figuring it out for the first freaking time, people. And we're all going to make mistakes. I know I certainly have. So just so excited you're bringing these resources to everybody.
So we've been talking, I think, maybe around what the purpose and like the thought process from Tyson and Mendez is, but I want to really dive into, just maybe for like information's sake, for people that might not be familiar with you guys. I mean, anyone who follows you knows what your mission is, I think. But can you share, for those that might not be as familiar with you and Tyson and Mendez, what it is you guys are really like, what is that driving purpose that allows you to be creative and think through new ways to accomplish your goals?
Thank you. Thank you. So I've mentioned we want to be the best. And it's like, well, what separates us in today's marketplace, in the legal marketplace, right? And our clients have their choice of law firms, so what unique challenges are they facing and how do we provide the best solutions for them? And the biggest challenge we believe facing our industry is what we call nuclear verdicts. These are jury verdicts that very easily you can define as $10 million or more. I mean, if you're here, like, can you just put something in the chat? Like, raise your little hand in the chat to see if you've seen a headline of a jury verdict over $10 million in the last couple of years. Like, hello, yes. That's a very easy definition. But when you really dive into what's happening when a nuclear verdict is rendered against a defendant, against a company or a small business or an individual, justice isn't really served there. That's our philosophy, is that injured people need to be compensated fully, compensated fairly, but it shouldn't be putting businesses out of business. And it shouldn't be changing the insurance marketplace where people are priced out and cannot buy insurance policies anymore. And so to be the very best, we want to deliver justice, and justice for all, not justice for the injured person, but also justice for the corporation who might have messed up, might have fallen below the standard of care, or might not have, and it's just been sued. So we have looked into, there's been a ton of research, if you're going to ask, well, like, how do you do that? So we've tried to fall in love with the problem. And I think, Emma, you're the one who, or maybe it was James, I'm so sorry, who catalyzed. How many times can I use the word catalyst?
We actually haven't paid Casey anybody.
Who really catalyzed this for me, in that we have fallen in love with the problem. Oh my gosh. Because, so how do you fall in love with it? You got to know it inside and out. We spent years researching, before AI could do it, manually, tracking what's happening in these cases. What is the plaintiff's bar doing? How is the defense responding or failing to respond? And then came up with the solutions that it forced, like, the defense industry needs to evolve and change. And we have laid out a roadmap for them that our lawyers use, that our clients use, and that we've shared openly with the defense bar to try to get more firms to do this, so we really can take back justice for all.
Yeah, and to kind of drive that point home even further, like, you guys have written the books on this stuff too, which I think is really important. And I know that coming to IGNiTE this year is talking about, like, the purpose and the vision of the company and all that. But on the other side of it, you guys firmly believe in educational approaches to not just selling, but also improving the market in general, which I think is really, really important. And a big thing that we advocate too. And some of the other sessions at IGNiTE this year are going to be on educational approaches to the marketplace. But I think it's a really important thing that part of your guys' approach is that you teach people. It's not just like you're there to collect money from clients. Like, you're passionate about it, and it shows in the fact you guys have written books on it. You launched a consulting firm, Apex, and you guys are doing all this stuff, create educational content. Right. And I think that just kind of drives the point home even further. Like, this goes beyond just doing business. There's really a true mission there. And maybe you can speak to, like, your guys' thoughts on that. And I know some firms, many firms, are afraid to give away too much information and put things out there publicly because they're afraid that their competitors are going to see it, or in this case, like, the plaintiff's bar might see it, right? How do you guys get over that discomfort and kind of push through and just put the content out there?
Embrace the discomfort. No, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, James. And I'm so encouraged to see that comes through in the work that we're doing and what we're putting out for our industry. To be the best, going back to that purpose and that mission, we also feel like we need to make the industry better. And we can't do it alone. Like, one law firm with 300 lawyers can't fight alone and win this national problem of nuclear verdicts. So if we don't openly share information, openly and freely collaborate with others in this space, we're not going to make any headway. And this is a bigger problem than just like Tyson and Mendez's clients. Everybody's facing it. So it's certainly been a mentality shift for us. Our very first book on the topic came out in, Chris, you are so correct there. You are more likely to get a nuclear verdict than you are to win the lottery. Like, you might as well just like walk down the street and trip somewhere and file a lawsuit. No, I don't want to be
every
callous
single
about it.
spot you can.
Yes, I don't want to be so callous about it, because there are certainly so many people who are genuinely injured in these claims. But when you look at the frequency of large verdicts coming out, and then how that trickles down to actually make settlements bigger too, it's a very big deal, and your odds are better than winning the lottery. Like, truly, it's insane. So when our very first book, we talked about, Bob Tyson, our founder, talked about writing his very first book. It came out just before COVID in February of 2020. He came to the partnership and said, hey guys, these are things that I've been doing, you've all been doing, we've been teaching and talking about them for a decade now. I think we should write a book. And the conversation among the partnership was very interesting to me, because they were adverse to it. But they weren't adverse to it for the sake of being stingy in business. And I don't want my competitors to know this. They were adverse to it because they were concerned about what the plaintiff's bar would do with it. Like, these are our proprietary things, and we owe this duty to our clients to not share it and make it even easier for the plaintiff's bar to fight us on this. And we realized, we're like, you know what? Every single thing we're doing is public information. Like, and if the plaintiff's bar really wanted to know, and they do, and they were already doing it, they would go find our closing arguments. They would go find the motions we've already filed. Like, we've already put it out there. It's fully available to the plaintiff's bar. We need to take this a step further. And like, yes, it's going to be more accessible to the plaintiff's bar, but it's actually going to be better for the defense as a whole if we do this. So it was overcoming this adversarial nature of like trying to protect our work product, And once we got over that, what's stopping us now? Right? We've got to talk. I mean, the plaintiff's bar, good morning, Michelle. The plaintiff's bar shares everything. They go to conferences in Cabo, which, by the way, if you want to host IGNiTE in Cabo in 2020,
give us a few years.
I'm here for it. Okay. But anyway, they get together and they share these information over the course of days and days and days. And the defense doesn't do it. Like, we don't do it in the same way. And so to even just take steps forward to start matching the way that they collaborate to make the defense industry better has been radical for us. What we're seeing is radical for the industry, though, is that even though the information's available, you still have to do something different than has ever been done before. And that's where we're still facing the challenge of, yes, we're sharing, yes, it's open, but defense lawyers and insurance professionals, I think, are struggling still to take that risk of trying a different approach in their cases.
I think, well, before we go on, Alex just like kind of summed that up. Like, it's that idea that we're all going to be stronger together when we focus on solving really big problems. And it's interesting to hear about this from the legal perspective, because I think it's really easy to think through like plaintiff versus defense. Like, of course, you don't want the people on the other side of the lawsuit to have the information that you're putting out there. But this happens in every single industry.
Oh, yeah.
And we are constantly having these conversations about the value of educating and the value of working collaboratively, because realistically, there's opportunity for us to do a lot more when we work together. And that educational component that you guys do such a great job with, you're helping outside the industry. But I also want to kind of come back to the piece that I've seen firsthand with you guys and the firm and what you do internally with your people. You're not just like out there educating and pushing a methodology to other people. You're internally constantly working on training your team and talking through the Apex and all of the methodology components that you have with your team internally. And I mean, we were joking about that being, drinking the Kool-Aid earlier, but it's, you guys are constantly investing in that education with your team so that they can help collaborate and drive towards that bigger goal as well.
Right. Because our philosophy has to be executed. Our strategies have to be executed on the front lines in every single case. Like, what we're also realizing is you can make these big promises that you're going to be the best, right? Okay, then clients expect you to come up with these amazing results in every single case they give you, right? So how are we following through on that promise to our clients? And we've realized we have to be structured. At our size, this has to be a very structured approach. So it's the internal education, just as you mentioned. We give webinars so for lawyers have to have continuing legal education credits, and it varies by state, but it's usually about an hour a month. So we provide that to our people as part of your employment here. You get to do all of that through us. And every recording that we provide, every hour a month, is then saved into our learning management system. So if someone is, what I love about this for new lawyers is, if you're going to go take an expert deposition for the very first time, there's a video that you can go watch that'll try to make you more prepared. And for me, when I'm more prepared, I'm less anxious or scared to go do that thing for the very first time. And people feel this in all lines of business. It's not just litigation. Like, you've got to put yourself out there to go try these new methods and try things for the first time. So we provide our monthly CLEs through webinars. We record them, we save them, and they're on demand for our people. But it's also happening, our education is happening on a granular level. So no trial. Let me say this again. No case in our firm will go to trial without a trial strategy meeting with our chair of complex trials, who is the ultimate expert on our Apex method. And so we have that education hands-on on the front lines in the actual case that's going to be tried, talking about the strategy and what arguments and what witnesses and what motions and how do we, what's the weakest part of our case and how are we going to address it? Like, talking about these things openly. So it's high level webinars for everybody to hands-on training and collaboration with every single team in every single case before a trial happens. And as you can imagine, this is millions of dollars. It's millions of dollars a year invested in giving this training to our people. But going back to the why, we can't deliver on the promise to our clients without making that investment.
So you just said something at the beginning of this and talking about how important it is to like go out and try new things and experiment. And obviously when we're new in our career, like you were just talking about somebody who's about to go do a deposition for the very first time, that's like kind of new experimentation thrust upon you as opposed to being further in your career and being like, oh, I know it and I'm settled and I know how to move forward. But you and I were having a conversation before today, talking a little bit about like your thought process on what digital leadership looks like and specifically how you're living that out right now. And you shared an experience with me that's you and the firm going out, trying new things, experimenting. Can you talk through that with everybody?
So back to our why and our purpose of being the best, we believe our people need to have the best tools and the best resources to be their best selves. And our folks have been using, so there are a couple different platforms for legal research. Westlaw is the one that we use, and they have an AI product called Co-Counsel that we've made available to everyone in the firm to use in their roles. Separately from that, we're looking at what Claude Enterprise would look like for our organization and how we do that in a protected environment where we're maintaining attorney-client privilege, but giving people the tools to do better work more efficiently. And this process for me, so I'm a lawyer. Like, I don't know squat about software and integration.
Give yourself more credit. You know squat, but it is new.
I know squat plus, and that's it. Okay. And so when we're just looking at digital leadership and looking at what that looks like for our people and within our organization, I'm 40 years old. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 5 years is that I am never going to be the smartest person in the room, and I shouldn't be. If I am, that's a major, major problem, because I don't know enough to lead this 500 plus person organization well. I need people that I trust who know more than me, who are more specialized in their area of expertise and can bring the answers, the right questions to the group. So we have a governance board that's working on our AI rollout. And personally, so I'm not the smartest person in the room. Great, check that box. I did that right. Everyone else around me knows so much more about this than I do. I've done my research outside. So I come prepared to these meetings, ready to ask some questions and talk about, like, what is this roadmap looking like? And again, my purpose in these meetings is to embrace the discomfort of not knowing the answer and being brave enough to ask the questions. That's all I can really do. I'm not going to know the solution right off the top of my head. I'm leaning on the experts to do that, but really trying to ask the thoughtful and common sense questions about what this is going to mean for our people when they log in and type in a prompt, what this is going to mean when we're evaluating the effectiveness and validity of a new skill that we want to share, that we want to save and share with the rest of our organization. And it's just so darn uncomfortable. So it is learning to sit in the discomfort and then lean into it. Because only by leaning into it and continuing to ask those questions, relying on the trust you have with your team members within your organization who are subject matter experts, that's going to keep our organization moving forward.
You said something a couple of times now that I want to ask you about, which is asking why. From the context of you now leading this firm, when you're a smaller company, I think it's easier to have that trust with your coworkers and ask open questions. But as you scale and get bigger, it can become more difficult for people to ask why, because they're afraid of looking stupid, number one, or number two, they feel like their leadership team doesn't want to have to justify themselves, or like it could be contentious. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked with plenty of software developers before, and when they ask why, for sometimes if they're questioning something, it can come across as like a accusatory thing and less of like a curious thing, right? But so, not to sidetrack, but for you guys at Tyson Mendez, how do you encourage your team to ask you guys questions about your strategy? And are you how do you avoid getting defensive if you have someone on your team who's questioning your strategy or questioning something? Like, how do you guys incorporate that into your culture and your discussions?
Thank you. If you guys want me to stop giving like 5-minute long-winded answers, because like,
great
again,
information.
I am like, my head is just like, oh gosh, you have so much to say on this. Okay. So first of all, I believe it starts at the top, and I have great examples in our co-founders, Bob Tyson and Pat Mendez, who have led from the core value of transparency since day one. And so transparency is something that we talk about the whys, and we want to be the best. Okay, well, we want to be transparent. And I think we say the word transparent in every single open meeting. It's like, here we go. If we could just play a drinking game on the key phrases we use here. But it starts there. It starts at the top. And then, so I have had great leadership on that as I've grown, and I've seen them live it through example and ask each other why in open meetings, and that gives reassurance to me. And then I think it starts with me and self-leadership. Like, if I'm going to encourage people to ask why, then when they ask me why, I need to make that a safe space for them to ask, where I'm not defensive. Like, even if I do feel personally offended in that, how dare you? Like, no, self-leadership, like, ask the questions. I think Brene Brown has done some amazing work on the framework and the questions and like the word tree that people need to follow in order to get to understanding why something's being done so that they can do their best job. Like if people don't understand the why behind what we're doing, then they could go down this rabbit hole that actually isn't where we want to end up at all. So the why is so important. And so leadership at the top, I had fantastic examples. And then my self-leadership, truly, to create that safe space where when I ask the question, they're giving me the respectful answer back. And when they ask me the questions, I'm giving them that answer back. So I think it really starts with every individual leader doing their part.
Yeah, I love that.
So last week we talked a little bit with Ian about the concept of an open mindset as a leader and his session that will be at IGNiTE. And I think you just kind of like, you said like the self-leadership component. And when James and I talk about digital leadership, we always talk about the internal leadership component, which is really rooted in that why. The external side, which we've already talked about, how you guys are educating and building authority in the marketplace, and hopefully a deep level of trust with your customers before they even come and sit down at the table to tell you about the problems that they're facing. But this self-leadership component is an interesting one. And I'm just throwing this question at you, Casey. So feel free to take a second and a deep breath. But you mentioned like reading Brene Brown. What other things are you doing to help keep your mindset open and help you continue to embrace this idea of being willing to answer the hard questions and work collaboratively and respect the ideas that are coming from the team? Like, what does that personal growth look like for you?
I do read a lot, and I read a lot of nonfiction, and the nonfiction is mostly about business and leadership and like self-help. So again, embrace the discomfort of, I don't know it all and I need to keep learning more. And then it's having these, I really lean on colleagues in the industry. Like Emma, I asked you, what was it, 2 years ago? I'm like, hey, we're going through this software transformation. Are there any books that you've read that you recommend? And you recommended Leading Change for me. And that was I learned so much in that book. So it's recognizing, I think, a heightened level of self-awareness that's almost a fault, that I'm not confident enough. Maybe I'm just like, well, I could learn more. Let's figure it out. And when in reality, I might be able to get through it and it would be fine. But I have this hunger to just want to do it well and to try to do it the best I possibly can. So I do read a lot. Brene Brown's been really instrumental for me in her work. In her Dare to Lead book, she goes through an exercise that has you and helps you define your personal values. And people say, well, like my values at work or my values at home. And it's like, no, like your values and how you live your life everywhere you go, no matter what. And I think that's been it was a really hard exercise because I love everything. Everything's important to me. No, she's saying that if you need to have one or two. And if you have more than two, then you probably have too many because you're pulled in too many different directions. If everything's your goal, then nothing is your goal. If everything's your guiding post, you don't have one. So personally defining for me my goals has been really helpful in my personal growth and in my leadership. And when I come across a challenge or something new, it's a really, really great foundation for me to come back to. It's like we could take several different paths. Okay, well, how do each of these paths line up with how I've defined how I want to move through the world and the type of leader that I want to be?
I don't think that there's anything bad about asking for suggestions from other people about books to read, because going back to what you said, there's so many different resources out there, and like sitting down to be like, "Ooh, I need some help." Like you can go to Google, but why not tap the shoulder of other people that you know that might be a little bit more well-versed in that area?
And that I don't think trust, building on that trust for sure.
Yeah, I'll jump in there too. I'm very big on personal frameworks and stuff. So I'm kind of with you there, where it's like I like to be able to take any challenge and kind of apply it to my own personal values and frameworks. And it's not perfect, but it helps with decision making, and it helps us making sure I'm doing the right things too. So I'm just like a business has a guiding purpose and a mission too. I think like us personally, we should do that too. It just allows us to move through the world maybe easier. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but yeah.
No, and it takes a little bit of it takes a little uncertainty out of things.
Yeah.
It gives me a little more confidence. Just, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And then being able to gut check that against something internally before I do anything with it just brings this heightened level of confidence that, okay, this isn't the worst idea ever. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then we check it with others. Yeah.
So obviously not everybody at the conference is going to be a lawyer.
God bless you all. I'm so excited for this.
There'll be a couple of you guys there. Yeah.
I don't want to hang out with only lawyers.
But as you start to think through, and you and I are obviously still working through exactly what we're going to talk about in that session, and some of it might ebb and flow depending on what happens in the businesses up until the point where we hit September, because we've been talking about everything changing so much.
Yep.
But what is one thing that you feel like from your journey in leadership, whether you're in the legal space or leading a team the size of yours or not, that people will be able to take away from the way that you and the Tyson and Mendez team think about like a purpose-driven organization?
I hope they really lead with a concrete example that it's doable and it's successful. I want to be able to give some concrete examples when I've gone to conferences, hearing the concrete, not just the theory, but like, okay, but what did you do to execute that? And to have examples to share with people has been most powerful for me. And that's what I really want to be able to provide. And hopefully when other people see the examples and see how it plays out, it gives others more confidence that they can try it too.
I'm going to make two announcements to everybody here. Okay. If you've got, I just put it into the chat, but I realized I never said it out loud, but we are in this Spark series giving away a ticket for IGNiTE for folks that would like to come. I would like you to put flame emojis into the chat. We've put it onto the screen and I put it into the chat, but I never actually verbalized it. And I should know from my teaching days, I've got to say it as well. Yeah. So we've got just a couple minutes left with Casey. Feel free to drop that flame emoji in there if you would like the chance to win. We will pull somebody from the comments here and reach out with information about a ticket. And then also throw your comments in our questions that you have for Casey before the time is up so that we have the chance to ask her that as well. But one of the last things that I want to ask you, Casey, is what made you say, like, I mean, again, IGNiTE's a new conference. You're coming in from across the country. What excites you about being in the room with the other speakers and the attendees? And like, what made you say yes to coming and joining us?
So I believe that this is an extension of Catalyst community. And I've been a member of your Catalyst community for 2 years now, I think. And no, it's got to be more than that. We're going on 3. And the professional relationships that I have formed with people in that community are some of the most treasured that I have of all of my professional relationships. I've formed friendships with these folks. They are powerhouses in what they are doing. And to be able, I'm coming to learn. I'm so excited because I get to speak too, but I can't wait to see these folks in person, to hear what they have to say and just be a student and soak it up myself. So what has stood out to me so much in Catalyst, and with me coming vulnerably saying like, I'm having this issue, is anyone else having it? For like 4 other people to raise their hands. We're just standing shoulder to shoulder, doing our very best. And I know that the group of people that you're pulling together are open-minded, as you've talked about, like care so deeply about their organizations and about their clients. Like, you're going to have counterparts from different industries who are like-minded, and it's just going to be fantastic. I'm going to have a hard time not treating it like I got invited to the VIP party, but really, yes, I'm just so excited to learn and to meet everybody in person.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. And have you been to Madison before?
No.
Okay, so that's another fun fact or fun thing you do too. No, it is a lot of fun, and that's like, to me, I just really enjoy obviously lots of great content and the different speakers we have coming in too. But no, I genuinely enjoy just like seeing people and having that time in a room together. It always feels like a lot of fun. So
and after you form the relationships, like that will continue. You know what I mean? This isn't going to be a one-day thing. And that's what's so cool about it is just, and then your Rolodexes still exist. Your Rolodex is going to be bigger and you're going to have more people you can call on and collaborate with who want to help and who care about you too. So yeah, it's going to be
Chris is following directions, but only after they were verbally said. So that's good.
No, to your point, Casey, that was the thing I noticed last year too, is like after the event, it was really fun to see people who met at the event, totally different industries, totally different roles, then engaging on LinkedIn or having conversations and actually having follow-up meetings too. Because it's not like some big industry conference. This is truly just people who are coming together who want to lead better. So it's a lot of fun.
And I was actually going to say the same thing Michelle commented as I was thinking, like I had my like pinch me moment was a couple of weeks after the event, you know, after the initial like push that you typically see from an event. A couple of weeks later to like a month later, I remember going to comment on something that Michelle had and having a ton of people that are from my network from like software sales days that are outside of insurance and have, you know, wouldn't have found Michelle probably naturally through the algorithm, but like really valued her viewpoints and the way that she framed leadership and taking chances at the event. And then seeing that stick around and seeing those names pop up in the comments and like having those people then locally in Madison come up to me and be like, oh, the people that you guys brought in are so cool. And that like to James and I is the most important part, is helping people make those connections so that, to James's point, you can become a better leader, but also feel like you're not doing it alone. And that I think is one of the things that's the hardest about putting yourself in these positions and experimenting with new things and getting uncomfortable, is feeling like you're out on an island and like you can't necessarily go talk to the employee that challenged you about the fact that they challenged you the same way that you might be able to when you have a peer in the company and you're talking about your boss. And so it's really nice to have those connections and those people that have those different vantage points that can maybe help change your perspective. And so we love to hear that. And we can't wait to welcome you for the very first time to Madison.
I'm so excited.
We're at our peak in September.
Cheese curds, like
we'll have cheese curds, yeah.
Oh yeah. We might have to do another. Last year we did a video for those of you that are interested in joining the Catalyst community, you should check it out beforehand. We do a Catalyst meetup with our speakers and everybody the night before the event. And last year I forced everybody from out of state to try a cheese curd for the first time.
Give them to me. I will. It's cheese. How will I not love it? It's cheese.
Yeah, mostly forcing that.
But the part that's devastating to me is like I can't eat gluten anymore, so the fried cheese curds, I had to just sit there and film everybody else eating them. It was a little bit of a torturous experience, but I've got to have everybody experience it so that they want to come back again.
Yes, so excited.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Casey, and for everyone joining us on the live stream. We would certainly love to welcome you all to Madison on September 3rd as well. If you've got any questions about the event, other speakers, feel free to reach out to James and I directly, and we will be back again next week with Dave Chrysler, or actually I will be back again next week with Dave Chrysler to talk a little bit about his session and his thoughts on digital leadership as we continue driving towards IGNiTE. So be sure to come back for each one of the Spark series. I was going to say IGNiTE series, but it's the Spark Digital Leadership Summit series. I don't know, that's a mouthful. But thank you again, Casey, and we will see you in a very short few weeks.
I know, so honored to be here. Can't wait to hug your neck. All right.